These two nations have always been at loggerheads, but what's brewing between North Korea and South Korea doesn't bode well in the coming days. There could be a flare up in that region. At a time when the world is witnessing conflict across the globe at various levels, this flare up is something that will be a cause for worry. It all started with drones, North Korean drones, about 5 of them, flying into South Korean territory for largely surveillance and reconnaissance. And one of those drones flew in all the way as close to northern Seoul. The South Korean military actually apologized to it. South Korea called this out. North Korea was in denial, but in response, South Korea also sent in 3 drones for surveillance and reconnaissance. About 8 days since the South Korean drones entered North Korean territory, North Korea then fired 3 short-range ballistic missiles, which are nuclear capable. They landed in the sea between North Korea and Japan in that region, but South Korea clearly said that the intended target of this 350-kilometer long distance that these missiles traveled was South Korea, and it was to send a message. And a lot happened between that, ladies and gentlemen. There was a Workers' Party meeting that was held by the North Korean President Kim Jong-un, wherein he actually announced a big change in his personnel. His number 2, the second most powerful man in military after Kim Jong-un himself in North Korea, was actually removed from his post. Park Chung. Park Chung was a low-ranking military officer in 2015 and has seen a meteoric rise to a general and also a Politburo member by 2021. He was actually given the charge of North Korea's short-range ballistic missiles program. But what Kim Jong-un expected perhaps was for the North Korean military under Park Chung to detect the South Korean drones coming in. Perhaps it was that reason that he was actually removed. And Ri Jil, a former army chief of army staff and also defense minister, has now been given the charge and has been made Kim Jong-un's number 2. In the meantime, there is a lot that has also happened. North Korea's ballistic missile program has not gone down well with South Korea. South Korea also saw a government change, and that happened in May. And the now President Yoon has been kind of hawkish. He has been talking up military drills with the US and also developing South Korea's air defense system, military defense. They actually have now test-fired a solid-fuel rocket, which they test-fired initially in March, and then now once again they have test-fired this solid-fuel rocket with the intent that this solid-fuel rocket will eventually, in the near future, place a military satellite, a reconnaissance satellite that belongs to South Korea in orbit, from where they can further monitor North Korea. So far, South Korea does not have its own reconnaissance satellite, and it depends heavily on the US spy satellites for information on North Korea. So much so, South Korea, after this recent flare-up, is also talking up perhaps nuclear drills with the US in that very region. Clearly, that's not going to go down well with this man, that is Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un, while outlining the plans for 2023, now has talked about the dream to now have ICBMs, that is Intercontinental Ballistic Missile Program. That's what he wants to push. Long-range ballistic missiles. That's what he wants the North Korean military and his team to now focus on in developing, because he believes, and the reason that he cited is the increasing hostility with the US. Let's remember, not so long ago, under Donald Trump, these two nations actually signed a peace pact. But all of that seems to be withering away, with South Korea increasingly urging the US to increase its defense capabilities, and it wants to become, especially air defense systems, wants to become far more independent than it has been in the past. And North Korea clearly upping the ante as far its own missiles program is concerned. Now with enough in their arsenal, in their kitty, and they have also shown that they have short-range ballistic missiles, they now want to develop long-range intercontinental ballistic missiles. That's the program that Kim Jong-un has now set the sights on. So every time South makes a move, North wants to respond. North makes a move, South wants to respond. It all started with drones, ladies and gentlemen, and it's now boiling down to missiles between North Korea and South Korea. Clearly, there are tensions which are on the up, on the boil. Will it lead to a short conflict in the near future? Will US presence in these waters and a nuclear exercise by a joint exercise by South Korea and the US further irk Kim Jong-un? He is mercurial. Will he do something rash? The world is watching.